All right, so welcome to the first FY22 Capital Planning Committee meeting for, what's today's date? October 13th, 2021. Calling the meeting to order at 6:38. Tonight we have Chief Herron to go over his capital request to explain what he's asking for. Chief?
Thank you. Before you, some of you, you have some pictures and the actual request form of a boat, well, dual boat and trailer combination. So, brief history, we have a 1960 V-hull boat that I believe it's 16-foot boat with a just under 10-horse motor. About 18 to 22 months ago, we had a water rescue at Robbins Pond, and the boat proved to be very difficult, made it challenging to perform a rescue of a guy that was drowning in the cold water. And one of my firefighters actually got hurt performing that rescue, and he's been out now for, I think, going on 9 months. So the request is for $61,935 is pretty much what I've already paid him in salary not to work. So what I'm requesting is we auction the two boats that I have. It's a 1960 V-hull. And a V-hull just means it's meant for, like, you know, choppy water, and it's got a high sides with the high gunnels. And the hovercraft that we got donated in 2008, which at the time seemed like it was a great idea and it would be a great fit. Not so much. It's very expensive to maintain because every time it goes out,
Plus you're not in the Everglades.
something on the motor breaks. It's a Rotax engine, the same thing you have in those high-performance go-karts. So more often than not, it needs to be rebuilt after it's used, and that can get rather expensive. And the learning curve to actually use it is kind of steep. So before you have some pictures. There's a boat, that combination flat-bottom john boat with a dive platform off the front that we can slide a victim up onto easily, well, more easily than over a side of a boat, and move that victim onto the boat to, you know, perform medical care or whatever on our way back to shore. It also has on the trailer a rigid hull inflatable boat that would be good for some of our rivers in town.
Okay.
Getting back to the john boat, because it's flat bottom, it can also be used on ice, where, you know, you obviously couldn't use the motor, but we can push it out onto the ice, and if the ice breaks, then you can get in the boat and get to where you need to be. We also have an ice rescue sled existing that we're gonna find a way to fashion or mount onto that trailer. So pretty much any water or ice rescue call we have one trailer that brings everything we need all at once, rather than now, the ice rescue sled has to go in an ambulance, the cot comes out, the sled goes in. Another truck has to tow the boat, and another truck has to tow the hovercraft if we need the hovercraft as well. So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask this. So I see how the boat fits, and on the top goes the piece that you're going to buy, the second piece?
So,
like ice rescue, is that what that is?
So what it is you have the trailer, and you have the main boat, the flat bottom boat in the bottom. And that gets launched into the water. And then on top of the trailer collapses down, and there's a rigid hull inflatable. So if we use two boats, we'd have that. The rigid hull inflatable is good for some of our rivers in town.
Okay.
Especially when they become swollen with flooding. It'll be good for that. The flat bottom boat will be good for that as well. This flat bottom boat it's actually called the X3 Advanced Rescue Boat. It's designed specifically for the rescue of humans from water or, you know, ice or drowning conditions, or unfortunately body recoveries. We lack that ability right now with the equipment that we have.
Okay.
And that's pretty much all I can say about it. It's something that's been on my list of things to replace, but having, you know, witnessed that water rescue where the gentleman almost drowned, and seeing the amount of work it took from shore with my binoculars, watching them try to get this gentleman who's flailing, because he's
Yeah.
scared for his
Scared,
life, over the side of the boat, and then somebody getting injured doing it, just kind of made it move up in the chain of importance.
Right.
And I didn't do it at the regular town meeting last year, because I wasn't quite sure where we sat with capital funds and all that with the COVID. And, you know, I just asked for 1.4 million for the tower truck, and,
What?
but the time has come that I
Right.
think it's necessary to
How much
do
do you,
this.
you mentioned earlier about auctioning off the hovercraft and the 1967 boat that you have. How much do you think you will get for that? Not much?
Not
The
a lot.
hover-
So I had a
even the hovercraft?
1996 engine that we auctioned when we got our new engine one in 2017.
Okay,
So that truck cost, if I recall, about $233,000 back in 1996. And I think we got just under or just over $8,000 for it.
okay,
The tower truck that we're getting soon, the old tower truck will be auctioned off.
right.
Which I already have a buyer for in South Carolina.
Oh, all right, that's
Or North
nice, right?
Carolina, I'm sorry. But it has to go to auction.
Yep,
I wanted to trade it, but because it has a value potentially over 10,000, it has to go up to bid. or
the
auction.
hovercraft?
The tower truck.
Oh, the tower truck.
So I'll be auctioning that off.
Okay.
And if this goes through, the boat, the hovercraft. Well, the hovercraft I have to talk to town council about, because that was a donation to the
Donation.
town, so I have to
Well,
figure
to
that out.
assess a
but-
value too, you have to come up with that.
Right, but even if you assess a
Like,
value,
right.
I mean, if I put a reserve price on it and nobody bids on it, or it doesn't reach the reserve, I'm stuck with this piece of equipment that I
We don't,
can't house, don't want.
right. Okay,
Unfortunately, when it comes to fire equipment, if it's not traded within 10 years, the price just drops dramatically, and no one's gonna replace a fire truck every 10 years for the amount of money they cost today. So we'll be auctioning off a few things come wintertime,
okay,
you know, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen.
yeah. That's good, at least you have something to kind of offset it, though.
Yeah, I mean, that'll go into the.
Some money, I think,
That'll
is-
go, you know, the proceeds go to the general fund anyways.
Right.
So, it's all
Okay.
good.
Do you guys have any questions for Chief?
Oh, I'm sorry. So this price also includes training.
Oh, yeah,
And
I
it
meant to ask.
includes, we have a need for some submersion suits. We have, a lot of our submersion suits are kind of old. So we're
Okay.
gonna replace a few, some are new, some are
So
old.
is that included in the
It
61?
is, it's all included in the price for the boat combination with the trailer and training and,
So is the training like video type of thing,
no,
or is it
Oh, it's
someone
on,
live come
hands-on
out here?
training. Yeah.
Okay,
It's pretty much, it's overtime
okay,
to cover the costs.
okay.
And like I said, this will have a useful life of, 20 to 30
And how many
years.
suits dive suits are you looking at?
I don't know, that's gonna depend on what the overall price of the combination boat trailer costs,
Okay,
and whatever money's left over, we'll purchase. The suits are only about $400 to $500 a piece,
okay,
and the rest will go towards training. And whatever I lack there, I have a line item in the budget that can cover some training as well.
training, yeah, oh
But
yeah.
I don't
the
wanna
training.
use too much of that, because now I have other shortfalls that are.
How much of the value is it the boat, and how much of the value is it of training? Of your request, of this request, how much of it is training and how much of it is the,
I don't have that answer for you, because I don't have I have a quote on the boat, but the quote I got is like the Cadillac of all boats, and I don't need the Cadillac of all boats. But I do
and
need,
I do remember when we were donated the hovercraft.
Yeah.
So how does that work? You can actually, is that your value now, is it town's value?
I believe it's donated to the town, so it's town property, and how we dispose of it, I guess.
But
is
that
up to-
wasn't a useful tool.
No.
I get it,
no,
I get what
it
it,
wasn't.
you know, what it is and what it was. And I'm just curious, the other thing, like the injury that happened from the V-bottom boat, like, was it because of the boat? Was it because of the sides of the
It was because
tunnels
of
or
having to pull a 230
Picking up
pound
high
guy
up
up
over
over
the
the
side?
side, that the firefighter ended up popping his shoulder and required a couple of
curious what the
surgeries and
difference
all
would
that.
be between this and that? So this is the lower side.
Well, so on the
Well, it has
front, of this
thing in
boat,
the
there's a
back.
platform
I
that
can
folds
see it's a
down.
flat,
Yeah, and
so
you
it drops low.
just drag them on. And,
I see a lot of the other fire departments with these.
yeah, so that one you're looking at's in Westboro.
Yeah.
One of my guys works part-time.
It's not a 2-year wait list.
I have no idea. Seriously, I really
And
don't.
it is made in America, I see? Or is that just the cover sheet?
I believe it's made in, New Jersey? I think it's in Jersey. So, yeah, they're built made in America, I believe.
Okay. Anyone have any more questions? No? Okay.
So
Thanks, Chief.
the other article that's gonna be presented
Yep.
through capital, but it's under the 20,000, is $14,100. In our station, we have an exhaust capture system that when the trucks start, these hoses are connected to the tailpipes. It sucks the exhaust out into a blower through a filter, and it exhausts. It's outside of the building to minimize the, potential for cancer in the fire service. That system, I believe, Jeff, help me out, I think it was we got that in 2008-ish, maybe? Yeah, so it's about 13, going on 14 years old. And that system runs by compressed air. And the boots that go on break every now and again. And I think they're about, I was gonna say $700 to replace the boots. The new ones will be magnets. There's no air involved, it's a magnet. And it goes, when the truck pulls out, it hits a switch, deactivates the magnet, the thing leaves, the truck leaves. You get rid of the filter system, and it just sucks the air out and puts it to the outside where it's going even after the truck leaves, because there's no filter on the truck.
Yep.
So we're gonna pretty much drop from all the hoses down, these hoses that come from the piping, and they connect to a magnet that connects to the tailpipe. And all of that will be replaced, and all the trucks will be outfitted with the new magnetic tailpipe connector. And that'll should
So it's
last
just a
us-
piece, it's like pieces.
Yeah, so it's
instead of
it's
the
a
whole
magnet
system.
piece on the truck, and then the hose comes down, it has like a flange,
Yep.
90-degree flange that has a magnet on it, and they just connect.
Just connect, okay.
And then when it pulls out, it hits a switch, if somehow or another it demagnetizes and pulls away, and it just removes exhaust from the building.
Nice,
Keep everyone safe, or as safe as we can.
yes.
And you're at the funds for that, you're asking from where?
That's free.
I believe it's free
Free
cash.
cash.
It's free cash, yeah. Okay.
Anything else?
I'm good.
No? Good. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Enjoy Aruba. All right. Up next, we have Selectman Spigot. You're gonna give us an update.
Yeah, just an update. So, thought as the liaison, I should at least let everybody know exactly where the town's at. And we've certainly had some turnover, to say the least, in the last year. But fortunately for us, we've replaced some of those positions with people we feel are very competent and are going to be an asset to the town. As most of you already know, Melissa Dean has taken over as the town accountant, and the remarks so far from most of the departments have been, it's been a great transition. Obviously, Phyllis was here for a long time, and there'll be a little bit of a learning curve based on, some of the things that she had done versus what Melanie had done. But having sat on the finance committee, I believe, Dan, with Dan, that's going to be an asset for her to really understand exactly what the town's needs are. So that was a pleasant entry into that position, into the accounts position. Treasurer collector, we decided to hold off until we could get the new town administrator. We're out for a search now for about 6 months, 8 months, I guess, is how long this search took. In the meantime, as you all know, probably Marilyn Thompson came back to fill in, and she'll be here until, I believe, at least November anyways, maybe an extension now that we know who the next potential town administrator is. So we went through the process once. Many of the candidates left the process either for personal reasons or they had other job offers, or the towns they were in prior to gave them better offers, once they knew that they were looking at the town of East Bridgewater. We had 4 applicants on this new search, and one of the applicants that we felt was best for the town, that we, as of today, I believe, well, at least last night, offered a contract to, is the town administrator in Halifax, George Siegel. So it's Silic, I believe. George's been there a long time, over 20 plus years. He's looking for a little different atmosphere at this point. He sees the potential in East Bridgewater, some of the projects we have, and has worked with some of the departments, having been in our backyard for a long time. So the board felt that out of the 4 candidates, he offered certainly the most amount of opportunity to us at this point. Like I said, we did offer him a contract. There's some negotiations that will go on inside that contract over the next few days. And then we have a selectmen's meeting on Monday to hopefully sign the contract with George. And then we'll look for him to, I'm not just, he keeps saying George, I believe it's Charlie. Charlie, yeah. Charlie, right?
yeah.
Jesus Christ, I guess I should get his name right. There's so many names I've gone through in the last 8 months, 6 months. So Charlie will come in hopefully Monday, sign the contract, and you know, we can look for him to start to join on with the town probably mid-November at the earliest. He's got some contractual agreements still with the town of Halifax. So that's, you know, a big step forward. The only other thing I have to talk a little bit about, that you'll see some things happening hopefully fairly quickly over the next few months. We've been working on a project with the city of Brockton for some SOAR on the Route 18 corridor. This has been about a 3.5 to 4 year process. We've got a letter of intent with them right now for the opportunity to get about 100,000 gallons of storage, which would bring us down all the way to all the way from the right side, if you're coming from Whitman into East Bridgewater, that right side of Route 18, all the way down to Highland Street, and then potentially across to pick up Equities buildings, which are Foxborough Company, old Foxborough, Howard Hanks is there now, and Compass Medical.
Yep.
Right now, we've got roughly 4
Does
projects.
Compass Medical have its own, or do they have, no, they have the leaching field out there?
They have a system that's really being tested at this juncture. We met with them last week. They're the latest to bring a plan to us, a potential plan for another 70,000 square foot facility on that property. Equity is really just the building owner. They lease these buildings. I think Stewart is the Compass owner of that property, and then Howard Hanks, of course, there's a few different other companies that lease or rent the old Foxborough Company building there. Again, their system is taxed for sure. SOAR to them would certainly give them opportunities, not with this new 70,000 square foot facility, some sort of.
The one across the street?
Yeah, so it would be, I'm assuming from what they told us, it would be where the leaching field is now. So it would be, if you're standing in front of Compass, I'm assuming they're talking about the left-hand side of the building. They actually met with the site plan review. We started probably 4 or 5 months ago, having plan reviews every other Wednesday here at this office, where each department comes in and speaks about projects ahead of time. Craig could probably talk in more detail about that, but I believe that's been extremely successful for us to.
Yes, it's putting us in a good position where all departments, boards, and commissions can see these projects as they're coming through the door, so we can provide real-time feedback, help the projects move forward. We can identify potential pinch points and stuff like that. And it's working well. Been about 6 months or so. We're already seeing a return on the time.
You got some information as well about the Compass area.
Yeah, just brief from planning board.
Yeah.
We do expect to see them in a couple of weeks before the group. Good.
Yep, and on top of that, we've got 3 other projects in that area. Obviously, the jobs that come along with the Compass project, we've got right now, the old Funway, so it would be a F1 area. There's proposed a project over there for roughly about 400,000 square feet. About 400,000 square feet. Some sort of warehousing facility that a company's looking at. Again, some major potential jobs in that area. housing project towards the end of Route 18, towards the Whitman area, about 125 units of condos, townhouses, something along that lines. And over by the Old Funway in the front end, there's, I think it's already been approved, actually, a 30,000 square foot sporting venue that will be right there. So you take all those factors in. Again, we have a letter of intent with the City of Brockton. We're meeting with them a week from tomorrow, the 21st, to try to move it forward to get that IMA, which we'll need in order to sign a contract, move the project, and potentially just in the housing at all, the assessor's office, Paula Wolf gave us some sort of assessment of about, I think, 1.2 million in new income just in that one area. You look at the other 3 projects that are going on, and potentially East Bridgewater could be looking at somewhere close to $2.5 to $3 million in new revenue in an area that's really undeveloped at this point. And,
So that'll be all betterments
yes.
from that, so no cost to the town?
Oh, we'll have some, there'll be some costs. I mean, infrastructure we'll have to, so there'll be costs to the private parties as well as to the town. That'll have to be negotiated. We got Weston and Sampson that we've used in the projects in the past. They will, so right now what we need to do is we really can't negotiate anything until we know we have the SOAR. And that would be with this IMA. Once we have that, then it would be up to the town. Same thing we did across here with, at a larger scale, obviously. So with this wastewater treatment plant, when we built it out and put the skid over, took the skid and brought it across the street, we were able to negotiate with CVS, and recently Dewhurst signed on for both of theirs. So there's we put a board together of, I believe, about 8 individuals that went over the rules and regs as well as the cost to hook into the system, and it's based on flow and whatnot. And then within the last 2 weeks, Carriage Crossing signed to participate in it as well.
So there's been a rate made for
Oh, yeah,
the...
yeah.
for the-
All the documents are held. You get them at the DPW or you can get them at Board of Health, one of the two. There's an advisory group right now which consists of 3 members, DPW with John Haynes, Roy Gardner from the planning, and then Rob Lyons is now sitting on it as the chair of the Board of Health. So they meet with them. But again, it's all planned out, and we came up with the figures based on some other towns as well. I mean, we didn't just kind of randomly pick it from the air. We actually went through a process, and Weston Sampson, again, helped us in getting that process set. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Again, I will have hopefully more information and better information once we sit with the mayor's office and make sure that we can get it signed. We do have a letter of intent, which basically is giving us the commitment. What they're looking for now is to see exactly what's going to happen in that area, what's proposed for that area, before they just sign off with 100,000 gallons, and we go from there. Anyone has any questions on that?
So what about financing for that, like to try to get that done?
So the only thing we have right now, again, we're a little ahead of ourselves. We're at some point, obviously there's a cost to the infrastructure and
Yeah.
whatnot. As far as the engineering costs go, the recovery funds money is potential for that. We're meeting with they're coming in, I think, Monday to the Board of Selectmen's meeting. If you look at, and again, the rules and regs for that money hasn't really been set either. It's sitting in an account, but we're not real sure what we can do with it at this point.
Right.
But if you go through it, which we have on a few occasions, it checks every box. And they're looking for, housing, they're looking for jobs, they're looking for development. I mean, so, potentially for the infrastructure to actually, not the infrastructure, excuse me, for the plans of what would need to be done, the engineering plans, we could certainly utilize those funds from the state in order to do that. But when you start talking about the project itself, let's, for round numbers, let's say it's a $7 million project to get from point A to point B, there will be costs not only from our end, but more importantly from the end of the user. Obviously the benefit's gonna come from, the biggest benefit will be coming from those private landowners that have the opportunity. So, there'll be some negotiations, certainly, with both the town and that, and I'm sure that not just capital, but finance and
Who
some
came up
others.
with that it would be better for the town to build out those areas?
who came up with it.
Yeah, what makes the town believe that that's gonna be an improvement to the town to bring more?
Jobs and housing.
Well, you know, is it really jobs? I mean, how many people really work from East Bridgewater in a lot of these facilities? I don't know, you know what, you're talking about a big amount of cost for the town
We don't know what the cost is.
to
So
bring
we
the
have to see
sewer.
what it is, yeah. We'll have to look
And
at
then
the
you have
cost
to look into,
versus.
you know, what, I mean, I know the area you're talking about, from Whitman to Highland Street, I mean, you know, it's basically swamp from end to end.
No, not really. I
So-
mean, if you look at the plans, and you're more than welcome to come
Yeah,
in
yeah.
and look at them. I mean, this has been going on for 3.5, 4 years, so.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the area that can be developed in there, there are certainly conservation areas, and
Yeah.
Craig's been a big part of that as well. I mean, this is just a come.
I just curious on the idea of what makes it believe that Eastbridge will be better by building it bigger.
Well, tax revenue. I think when I took office, one of the things I looked for, Chris, is to find ways
So-
to
so-
bring more income into the
Yeah.
town of East Bridgewater, right? So development and on top of that, jobs are, you know, a part of that building. If you go down that corridor in 18, you know, you really take a look at what's been built from Middleborough all the way down to Weymouth. One of the areas that hasn't been developed is that potentially that area right there. And, you know, I would assume that some of that has to do with it being all septic. I mean, you know, what you can do with septic versus what you can do with
No,
sewage.
I
is
get it, I know the
completely
area very well.
different. Yeah.
You know?
So we'll take a look. I mean,
Yeah.
look, we have to look for ways, right? I mean,
Well,
think
I
we all
guess,
agree
you
that.
know what,
You
know,
guess that we have to
all
look for ways? I
we
don't
all-
understand what
We
you-
all have different ideas of what, you know, what, I understand what you're saying, it's just a matter of building out Route 18 or making it bigger. I mean, you know, some people might see it as a positive, some people might see it as a negative.
Well, yeah,
So-
that's
so-
the body of the town will make that
Right.
decision at the
Right.
end of the day, right?
But that's what I was asking is, you know, who came up with the analogy that building out bigger facilities through that area?
Well, I think
Housing would-
people
would-
are
would
just,
it, would
people buy
add.
stuff and then they develop it themselves, and I think what we're trying to do is facilitate the best way for more infrastructure of the sewerage, because we know that the town needs town sewer. So I think that kind of goes with you know, bringing that part in, and then what people do with their private property to come into it, that's their choice.
Well, I understand. I mean, this was something that was proposed back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, but let's make sure we don't get off topic
Well,
here. So we're not talking about
yeah.
townwide sewer,
Yeah.
right? Let's,
Yeah.
last thing
But
I need
that's
is
what I'm
phone
saying. So that's
calls.
why you're
Totally
talking,
understand
that's why
that,
I'm
not
saying,
townwide
you're
sewer,
talking from
but-
Whitman to Highland Street, so, you know, you're specifically going there, now you're talking about going down to Compass Medical.
Mhm.
So that's, now you come in, you know, closer into the town area, which is, you know, a split of residential and commercial. But it's you know, a bad septic area all through that stretch, so I get where sewer would be an advantage, but you're talking about a lot of money,
Right.
you know, so I'm just asking what the.
Well, it's gotta make sense, like, at the end of the
what, you
day.
know, what the rewards are.
Yeah, well, I
versus
think
You know, the downside of building those areas out.
Right. Well, so if you take it at a smaller scale and look at the, you know, the potential for what I think, you know, we were able to do over here, and we hope that, you know, part of the arrangement that we did with CVS, and then somewhere down the line, you'll see some more things happening with Carriage Crossing as well, for, you know, to bring more people into town, or at least keep them in town. I mean, you know, most people leave here to go wherever they may need to go, you know, so, again, it will be up to the town at a town meeting at some point to make that decision. You know, is it the, you know, quote unquote, as we've heard since we've been kids, right? The sleepy bedroom community that we're looking for, and the higher housing rates and tax rates that we pay each year, or are we looking to try to diversify some of that and, you know, find some commercial development that would give us the opportunity to make more money? And again, like I said, I keep saying the same thing to all the departments. I've been, you know, to all the meetings, is that, you know, I feel it's my job, as well as the other two members of the board, Carol and David, to find opportunities. I mean, that's kind of what I was put in the position for, at least that's what I thought going forward. So, and this isn't Peter Spagone's idea, certainly. It's the idea of a group of people, and from John Haynes to Paula Wolf to Craig Windsor, to, you know, all the people that put the time in to look for abilities to do it. So again, it's an opportunity, and it's one that we'll look at, but at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. It's up to, you know, the
I get it.
taxpayers and
Yeah.
the voters to make that decision, you know.
The commercial development, under most studies, the commercial development is beneficial to small communities. For the most part, we pay out about 54 cents on the dollar collected on taxes on a commercial property, as far as municipal expenses. We go to residential, we pay out about $1.25 to $1.50 for a dollar collected when we develop residential, because of the school. $12,000 per student roughly across the board. So for years, we've been trying to find a way to promote commercial development in a community that's reliant on septic systems. So the commercial portion of that makes fiscal sense, and from a conservation standpoint, the vast majority of that site is being recycled. It's already go-kart track, it's already a roughed-in industrial park, it's already got space buildings on it. It's got a car wash, it's got, you know, a golf course, that kind of stuff. So it's a recycled site. We aren't clearing pristine wilderness and dropping in a 400 square foot warehouse. As far as the residential development further up the street, that's a little further down the line, and that's going to be developed as something, whether it's residential or commercial. So I think the backing that this has gained is its commercial development that we've been lacking for years. And CVS is probably the best comparison on a small scale. We took 4 or 5 older apartment buildings and single-family homes that we put in.
I understand, but, you know, there was some downside to that too as well, because quite frankly, we subsidized them with, you know, $60,000 they only had to pay. When quite frankly, if they had to build a septic on their own, it would've been $500,000.
Yeah.
So we subsidized them putting that project there.
To some extent, but they didn't add any impact to the school system, so that comes back pretty quick.
I understand, but it's a balance.
Yeah, there's a balance that, yeah.
So I'm just saying, you know, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, I'm just trying to say, you know.
Yeah,
I don't
and that's
wanna
all
see the-
usage too, you know, so keep in mind that, you know, the $200,000 deposit that Carriage Crossing has to put down on a $670,000 bill to hook in is different because of the usages that they'll be looking at versus a
Right, but that,
CVS.
you know, and they're gonna be on the town system,
So isn't
right, the
Carriage
Carriage Crossing,
Crossing, yeah.
No, you're talking about the one up the street will go into Brockton system.
It will be going to Brockton system.
This one
yeah.
here is into the town school system.
Absolutely, yes.
So
So that's why they
so-
paid us. I mean, we won't be collecting, the only thing that we'll be able to negotiate with is the infrastructure, because that will be on the town. You know, Brockton's not gonna pay for us to hook into them from some
I
of the
get it,
rooftop,
I
right?
understand. Like,
They're gonna
again,
say, "Go
again,
do it."
I felt East Bridgewater missed the boat, you know, 30 years ago
Sure.
on that.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
however, you know what, I just, again, don't wanna see the town pay all the monies for this. And quite frankly, you know, next thing you know, we end up with just as much residential as commercial, and it's a wash, and the town ended up paying the bill.
Right. Well, that's what we presented before, you know, obviously, we're gonna look at it from both angles. You know, what is the town's income
Right?
per year based on what's put in there, and then what are the opportunities?
So maybe it could be
that are-
commercial only.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be quite a bit. I mean, we're looking at we're looking at Compass, and that's Equity, who owns those buildings, you know, not just looking at I mean, when it was originally proposed, it was proposed for a 100,000 square foot facility, you know, with lots of other entities that they wanted to put in there. Several buildings, yeah, and because of the system that they had to build in there, they just didn't have the capability. So this gives them the opportunity to, you know, to build out. This is just phase 1 of what they hope to have 2 other phases of other buildings that they'd be able to use. I mean, instead of having the solar panels, right?
I was gonna say the solar out there, they have that.
That they, you know, potentially have an area to, you know, continue to make that a campus, you know, and then grow it, but.
Those solar panels have an expiration date too, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an opportunity at this point. We feel it's a good opportunity for at least to put in front of the body as a whole. And, you know, it's obviously my job to come and let the boards know. This is the first time I think you guys have met really in a while, right?
Yeah, since June.
Yeah, so, you know, that's where we're at, but you'll certainly hear a lot more before, you know, we sign any contracts or we move in any forward direction until we know exactly what it is, but the potential is certainly there, and that's myself and people like Craig that are, you know, excited to see that to come to fruition. And that's about it. That's
All
what
right.
we've got working right now. I will certainly hope to, next meeting, have Charlie.
Yes.
George, come to the meeting and,
Definitely.
yeah, meet with you guys, and I think that would be a big help as well, to your group, to have somebody that can finally
Yeah.
sit at the table with you.
Yes.
Yeah, someone good with 20-plus years' experience is
Great.
good.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Peter.
All right. And Mr. Shea.
I don't want to miss this too. I want to take 5 minutes.
Sure.
I'd like to be, stop being kind of invited on a semi-regular basis.
Sure.
I think it's good rather than meeting once a year and hitting you guys with a lot of projects. I think it's good if we start meeting on a regular basis. So if you wouldn't mind inviting me along, I'd appreciate that. I found out about tonight's meeting from Mr. Spagone. I texted him today and said, "Do you know when the next capital meeting is?" He said, "Yeah, tonight." I said, "Do you think it'd be okay if I could come?" And he said, "Maybe."
Sure.
But I do want to give you a kind of an update on a couple capital things that are going on at the school. There's a food security infrastructure grant that I'm going to be filing over the next couple weeks, looking for a delivery van, and also, if possible, a new dishwasher at the central school. So I wanted to give you guys an idea of
Delivery van?
a delivery van.
What would we
I
do
was
with
just
this
gonna
delivery?
say-
Just curious.
It's
So do we deliver,
we deliver food between the schools.
so
The
you bounce between the three?
the central school and the Mitchell school, they do not have a lot of storage, and with the delivery problems that everyone's encountering now, we're getting large shipments rather than smaller shipments going to each of the schools. So the larger shipments are coming to the high school, and
You're storing them there.
we're storing them there, but we had been delivering once a week. Now we're going to be up to 2 times a week. This is the second food, they call it the Food Security Infrastructure Grant. It's the second one that's come out. The first go-around, we weren't accepted for a couple things that we applied for, but a lot of schools have had applied for delivery vans, and they got awarded those vans. Right now, we use a box truck. The lift gate is all rusted. The truck is old. So just want to give you guys an update about that. The dishwasher at the Mitchell
Will
School,
the grant, you think, be enough to cover the van?
that's the plan.
Okay.
And that, of course, would replace the small box truck we have now, so.
Yep.
The dishwasher at the Mitchell School, because of supply problems, we can't get paper products, so we're using more glass and dishes. That dishwasher, if you ever seen it, you would understand how it's still working, so we'll be looking to
Which school did you say?
Mitchell. Mitchell School.
Is there a grant for that, or no, you're just gonna?
I was
buy
gonna apply for both,
it? Okay.
but because they are capital projects, I thought
Yep.
it's a good idea to
And I have no idea, are those, I know the van is, but is the dishwasher over 20 grand too?
it's about 50,000.
Oh, wow.
Expensive. So you know what, I'm just curious, all right, wouldn't Brian bring these pieces to
Well,
us?
it's kind of a gray area
mean,
between the
is it-
school and
but
Brian. I think,
But isn't it his, you know, I could be wrong, but I believe, early on, I was told, when we hired that position and made it another year-long salary position, that he would prioritize, bring forward us. And I'm glad you're doing it. I'm not saying that, you know what, but I'm just, you know what, like, there's a disconnect, like, is he not?
well, this is a little different because it is a grant that's
Right.
provided by the state, so this is a little different.
Right, but, so,
But
he-
yes, but Brian,
hands-on to the needs, though, of the building.
Brian is hands-on to the needs of the building. But because this is a grant, it's kind of why I'm
All right, great.
bringing it
Glad-
forward to you
Glad you're
guys.
going for it.
And is the van just gonna be like a box truck? Not a box truck, but like a,
We're looking at a high height,
like one of those Sprinter van kind of things?
13-foot-long van, doors on each side,
Oh, okay.
so it's bigger than a normal van.
Yeah. Can carry a lot of food or stuff. Okay,
That's it.
excellent.
Just wanted to, you know, did the schools end up getting what you had anticipated getting from the prior government acts for the CARES Act and the different things? Did it?
Yeah, well, because,
Did it get you what you were hoping to get, I should say?
yes.
For all the projects that you took off the list.
Yeah,
From last
yes,
year.
yep. CARES Act, because we were Plymouth County, you know, I think the schools did, and the towns did a lot better than towns that weren't part of Plymouth County.
No kidding.
So we did very well. There's a lot of issues at the school, mental health, social.
I get
So
it.
we're using a lot of our
Sure.
current grant money.
But it's good that you got it.
On, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't know if it
No,
was
that's great.
promised, I'm just curious if it was received, so it
yeah.
sounds like it was.
Yeah. And I think that's a good idea, why we should meet regularly, so we're all
Yeah,
on the same page.
no, that's great. I'm glad you got to get all that stuff that you had hoped to get with it. That's great.
Thank you.
One thing I was just gonna, we should have a rep from the school committee
Oh,
on
yeah.
this committee.
Okay, I think there is one that is, that has been designated.
I don't know if it's been shared with us.
Okay,
No.
So maybe just,
Yeah.
that way I was thinking, that way you'd always be kept in the loop too, if
Right.
there was a meeting coming up. Not that we can't do that as well, but. I'm
Great.
not sure who, it was Tim, but I don't know if.
I think it
that's
still
who-
might be Tim,
Okay.
but should know.
Yeah, I don't think.
Have
he
you
was
checked
on-
don't
into
know,
the
honestly.
dishwasher? Is there
think
availability
he
of
was
a
off.
replacement?
I thought it changed when he
Probably,
became chair.
it's probably
I thought
6
they
months
appointed
off.
someone else.
It's been,
He was the rep and then
Wow.
he became chair.
been-
Oh, he's
I
the
mean,
chair now?
we looked at
So I
security
thought he appointed
cameras
someone else,
the
but
other, tried to order some.
Okay.
Told us 54 months. I
Yeah,
mean,
so there's
it's
a lot of that going on. That's why I asked. I was curious if something like that would.
Trying to line the soccer fields, you can't get line paint.
I know, it's crazy.
It's,
You can, but it's on a container ship in the Portobello.
Well, when you're in Aruba, you can grab us some.
Could you steer it
I
this
think
way?
Make it back with some white powder.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
If Mike's off, just gotta call me.
There you go.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, so the other thing that was requested that we need to approve of is the information from Ryan
Thanks.
McGonigal. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And he is looking for multi-factor authentication. It's for 51,000, new item, and the MFA, I'm gonna call it, is a form of cybersecurity that adds a second layer of authentication to user accounts and will soon be required for the renewal of our cybersecurity insurance. So the yearly renewal cost for both schools in town will be about 31,000 per year. And then there's that he has out there as a request, and then the useful year is only 10 plus, that doesn't seem very long. The other item that he had out there is another 10 years for useful life, and it's access control system for the town hall.
And police.
And
right?
police department. Is this part, I know that you had talked to, Ryan at a finance meeting maybe or
I
something?
met with him.
You did, and
Yep.
is this part of what we had approved last year?
No, these are separate. So the MFA's come up because it's part of the renewal. We all know cybersecurity attacks are happening
Yeah.
much more frequently with people working remotely. It's important to have dual layers of authentication when you're accessing town servers.
Right.
So I mean, I work in the finance industry. We have VPN, we have MFA. You need to protect public data. It makes
Yeah,
sense to me.
we have both as well. I think.
Yeah. On the access controls, my understanding is this building is at the end of it, this building and the police department are at the end of their useful life. The access control systems, which are the card readers to access the building. I think there are certain areas of the police department, and even here, like server rooms that may have extra access to
Didn't we
get
just do
into.
those? Didn't we just
That's
do
what,
those like?
no, we did the lines that went to the loop.
I thought we did the.
Yeah, we just did the
did the
access
fob
controls for the key fobs to
controls.
get into the
We
thing.
did.
Probably
Unless
five
this
years,
is something,
like 5 years.
that was my
Unless this is
understanding.
updating it and doing changes.
He's saying it's over 11 years old.
You know, one of the things, Michelle, like, it would be, you know, and again, I got caught off, are we on, camera still?
Yeah.
So I didn't understand that we had a couple things going on, but, it would be nice to sit down and have, you know, get our long-term plan back in order a little bit.
Yeah, that is gonna be on
Because
our
quite
agenda for
frankly, you know,
this.
years past, like, we had talked about retrofitting, like, the fire department into the fire police department and having a central dispatch and bringing a lot of this kind of technology, everything into one building versus spreading it out and,
Right, which we do have the dispatches,
right?
and they
But-
do have that.
But we talked about, you know, maybe eventually putting those two parties together down at the fire department building.
Yeah.
Retrofitting that building.
I agree, and that's one of the things I wanna work on this year is the 5-year plan.
Yeah.
You know, we've been talking about it, but it's in the bylaws and wanna move forward with that. So, shortly, I will be requesting from each of the department heads a 5-year plan, and then I'm gonna take that data and put it into a master plan for us, so we can at least look at that. And then what will happen is we'll have to reprioritize each year. Not even just reprioritize, I think we'll have to relook at it to see if it still makes sense. The 5-year plan, it'll have to be tweaked every year, as you know. You know, and then if one thing falls off because it's done, does it get put back on the 5-year plan? Or, you know, I would hope that most things were more than a 5-year
Right.
useful life, that we wouldn't see it right back.
I understand we have to keep things current and keep things rolling.
Yeah.
It just, we've put a lot of money into this building and into the police department, into basically something that really doesn't work. But
Yeah,
that being said, I guess we'll talk about it in the future.
yeah. So that's definitely on the agenda for this year.
Because if you look at a lot of these things that we do twice.
Yeah.
We do it over and over twice instead of doing it once.
So I think where this system is at the end of the year, and Ryan couldn't be here this evening to talk about it, but where the system is at the end of its life, it's over 11 years old and failing. You know, what does failing mean? You can't get in the building?
It says it
It's
has,
showing errors.
it has errors that cannot be resolved.
Right.
So I'm assuming there's probably, I would assume, upgrades to the technology, and at a certain point, you can only patch, and then you have to replace software because it reaches, they stop releasing patches and updates, and
For that particular. and
that's
then
what I
you-
would
right.
assume.
And I don't know about you, but even in my business, I find that IT is very expensive.
It is.
Very expensive. You know, we have different things at work that we've had to do, and it's a lot.
And I mean, with the evolution of the crime that's happening out there, cybercrime.
Right.
And it's changing on a daily basis. I mean, you see,
Right,
Rockland's, what was their schools were taken down last year, and
Yep.
you see different municipalities that have ransomware installed, and things like that. If you don't, 51,000 looks like a lot for MFA, but what it can prevent in the long run,
well, I also think, you know,
or help to
we
prevent.
don't really have a choice if you needed to renew your insurance, so.
True.
I mean, I think that's, you know, one of the things. So what I'd like to do right now is just take a vote on the things that were proposed tonight, just so we can move forward with that. I know that they'll have them at the special town meeting, which I gave everybody a copy of the draft that's being put together for the town meeting, which is November 22nd. So let's take a vote. And if anyone has any questions, let's take a vote on the rescue boat with trailer proposed by Chief Heron.
I make a motion to recommend.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So that is a 4.
I'd like to keep the hovercraft parades and things like that, so.
Well, it was donated. The problem is, yeah, the hovercraft is just a cool thing, I think. You know, especially if you're in the Everglades.
Mm.
All right, So let's talk about this multi-factor authentication proposed by Ryan McGonigal for the cybersecurity and for the renewal of our cybersecurity insurance.
I was just gonna mention that all three, none of these are bonded, all three are paid from free cash,
Yep.
just to make sure that that's.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yep, that's good.
It's not my strength, so I'm gonna go with what your recommendations are. I know this is more your world. The only thing I would have asked is someone like Ryan that came and brought us together things of the technology nature last year and the upgrades, what if we knew that something was gonna have to be done this year for license, I would have liked to have known.
Yeah, I
So
would
that
have
we're
liked,
not-
I was thinking that,
We're not getting, this last minute that we
Right.
have to do it because we're gonna lose our insurance. I would have liked to have known
know if
that we
you-
have, maybe he didn't, and I'm not, I know he was here for good reasons.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just saying, we voted some big things in last year with that.
yeah.
It would have been nice to know that we had this again.
And I think we need to know from him if
Yeah.
anything's coming up, because we're, IT, we just talked about is so expensive. I think it's important that we really stay on top of things that he is thinking of versus things that we actually need or can be put off, or, what is.
Consolidated.
Yeah. So, so does anyone have any further discussion on this?
Sounds like the finance already got,
Finance,
filled in
finance
with all this.
recommended both articles last
Okay.
night, voted to.
Okay. All right, so let's take a vote.
I make
On-
a motion to recommend both IT capital articles as printed.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 4-0, and then I'm wrapping in the access control system. I think we don't have a choice on that, where the system's that old. And you did say you proposed, so that was what we voted on. Okay, so we voted on those. We don't have to vote on Tim's less than 14,000. I mean, because it's less than 20 from a capital expense for the I call it the hose for the CO2. Basically, I don't even know what that is, but. So the other thing, what I'm gonna do is, we do have an opening on here. We have 2 candidates. I'm going to talk to Rebecca and find out what our next steps are on that. So I'll be reaching out to fill that position. And then, once we go with that, we'll have Moderator Loney make the appointment. Let's see, I think that was, we didn't have any minutes. We're done with those, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I can double check with Sue
Okay, Sue Kilpatrick.
Kilpatrick, yep.
Yep, okay. So, entertain a motion,
Second.
all right? Those in favor,
Dave.
motion to adjourn? Aye.
Awesome.
Excellent. So, 7.